I thought I'd found my sanctuary. After years of dodging petty neighborhood rules in a cookie-cutter suburb, I was done with the nonsense like the time I got slapped with a $300 fine for planting orange bell peppers because they clashed with the community aesthetic. Who even writes these rules? So, I set my sights on freedom, a place where no homeowners association could tell me what to do with my own dirt. That's when I stumbled across a 1968 cabin nestled on 6 acres of untouched forest in Montana's Bitterroot Valley, listed with a pristine 1983 deed. The date was April 2024, and I was ready to leave the world behind. As a data analyst, I'm wired to dig into details, so I pored over every document, called up my lawyer, Rachel Bennett, and had her triple-check the property's history. After a week of digging through county records, she gave me the green light. This land's never been touched by an HOA. You're in the clear, Ethan. That was music to my ears. I signed the papers, packed my life into a truck, and moved into my slice of paradise, so I thought. 3 weeks in, I'm wiring up a top-notch security system when a sleek black SUV rolls up my gravel driveway. Out steps a woman in her late 50s, sharp blazer, polished boots, clutching a clipboard like it's a scepter. Her smile was all teeth, the kind that screams trouble before she even opens her mouth. "Hi, I'm Vivian Hart, president of the Silver Pines HOA," she says, her voice dripping with rehearsed charm. "We need to talk about your property's compliance." I froze, mid-drill, thinking I'd misheard. HOA? On my land. The land I'd bought specifically to escape this exact garbage? She starts laying out papers on my porch table, talking about recently expanded boundaries and community standards, like she's selling me a timeshare. I'm standing there, drill in hand, wondering if I'm stuck in some fever dream. The irony was almost laughable almost. But something about her polished confidence made my gut twist. I pulled out the folded 1983 deed I'd kept in my wallet since closing, call it a hunch. "Vivian," I said, keeping my voice steady. "This deed says my land's never been part of any HOA. County records back it up." Her smile flickered, just for a second, before she hit me with a condescending laugh. "Oh, Ethan, communities evolve. We're just protecting property values." Then things got weird. She starts pacing my property, whipping out a fancy laser measurer, checking distances from my porch to the tree line, from my driveway to the boundary markers. Her movements were too precise, too practiced, like she'd done this a dozen times before. Why was she measuring my land if this was just a friendly HOA intro? My instincts screamed trouble. I excused myself to grab a drink, but really, I wanted to check my security feeds. I'd installed cameras covering every angle of the property, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Vivian's SUV had been here before 4 times, always when I was away on work trips to Seattle. She'd walked my property lines, snapped photos with a professional-grade camera, and spent over an hour last Monday circling my cabin like a vulture. She wasn't here to welcome me. She'd been casing my land for weeks. When I came back out, Vivian was wrapping up her spiel about shared responsibility and handed me a 25-page HOA guideline packet, complete with a $900 violation notice for unmaintained natural landscaping. Trees that had been growing wild for decades before I arrived were suddenly a problem? I scanned the fine print, my jaw tightening. This wasn't about community pride. This was a shakedown. That night, I created a folder on my laptop labeled Operation Anti-HOA. Overkill? Maybe. But I treat threats like I do data breaches. Document everything, stay calm, and build an airtight case. I started logging every interaction, every paper, every timestamp, backing it all up to encrypted cloud drives. If Vivian wanted to play games, I'd be ready. I upgraded my cameras to military-grade, night vision models with motion alerts and audio capture. Sure enough, 2 nights later, my phone pinged at 2 a.m. Vivian's SUV crept by, headlights off, slow as a predator. I called Rachel the next day, and her tone was grim. "Ethan, I've dug into Silver Pines HOA. They've forced 4 families to sell their land in the last 18 months. Something's not right." My anger flared, but her next words chilled me. "They have no legal claim over your property or deeds, ironclad, but Vivian's acting like she knows something you don't." Vivian's next move was a masterclass in passive-aggressive warfare. Her email oozed fake concern, warning that my uncooperative attitude could harm property values. I fired back a polite but razor-sharp response. "Dear Vivian, My attorney and I have reviewed your claims. My 1983 deed confirms this land is independent of any HOA. County records agree. I won't be paying fees or following rules I never signed up for. Best, Ethan. Maybe the sarcasm was a touch petty, but she'd started it. The next day, 3 emails from strangers HOA board members hit my inbox, calling me a bad neighbor, hinting I'd be happier elsewhere. One even warned, non-compliance has consequences in close-knit communities. It felt like a coordinated attack, designed to make me feel cornered on my own land. Then came the bombshell. While testing my camera's night vision, I spotted something odd on the pine tree by my driveway, a small black device, camouflaged with fake bark. My heart raced. A security camera, and not a cheap one. I grabbed my signal detector, a tool I use for network troubleshooting, and it picked up a wireless signal beaming toward the community center where Vivian likely ran her HOA empire. I borrowed a ladder from a neighbor, tore the camera down, and decided to go public. I live-streamed the whole thing, holding up the device and saying, "Found this on my property, no permission. Pretty sure this breaks a few laws." The response was electric. Neighbors flooded the comments with their own HOA horror stories, one even typing, "Finally, someone's fighting back." While dismantling the camera, I noticed my mailbox post looked off. Digging closer, I found a second camera hidden in a custom-built compartment, crafted to blend perfectly with the wood. A business card slipped out. Hart Properties, Vivian Hart, Senior Land Acquisition Specialist. My stomach dropped. This wasn't about neighborhood rules. Vivian was running a real estate racket, and my land was her next target. The signal logs showed both cameras were installed weeks before I moved in. She'd known about my purchase before I'd even unpacked, which meant she had inside access to real estate records. This was no petty HOA power trip, it was a calculated heist. Neighbors started texting me, reporting Vivian's SUV prowling their properties, measuring, photographing, always when they weren't home. One night, I found a note under my windshield wiper, written in elegant cursive. "Ethan, your confrontational stance isn't good for the community. Let's discuss this like adults." The condescension made my blood boil. Did she think I'd fold after catching her spying? I fought back with a sign by my door. "Keep smiling, Vivian." Petty? Sure. Satisfying? Absolutely. Rachel called with a bombshell. "Ethan, sit down. I found county records showing years of boundary tampering under Vivian's account. She's been forging HOA jurisdiction over properties that were never part of it." The digital trail was damning. Edited maps, fake complaints, backdated violation notices, all tied to Hart Properties. Vivian had diverted $400,000 in HOA dues to fund her scheme, buying surveillance gear and paying off developers. She'd targeted vulnerable owners, elderly, divorced, or financially strained, forcing sales below market value. My cabin was flagged because I was new, isolated, and sitting on prime land. The premeditation was chilling. She'd planted cameras before I arrived, fabricated complaints, and drafted legal threats to build a case for liens if I didn't comply. The HOA called an emergency meeting to discuss boundary expansion, but I knew it was about me. Instead of arguing in person, I sent Rachel's legal packet: property rights cases, privacy laws, and jurisdiction precedents. A neighbor secretly recorded the meeting, and watching Vivian unravel was pure gold. She stumbled over my legal citations, dismissing them as intimidation tactics. But when Mrs. Larson, a feisty retiree, demanded to see the original HOA charter, Vivian's facade cracked. Her deflections, vague promises to consult legal counsel, fooled no one. Residents piled on, citing their own run-ins with her survey equipment and fake fines. By the end, Vivian was sweating through her blazer, her authority in tatters. Rachel's next call changed everything. "Ethan, this isn't just fraud. It's organized crime." She'd uncovered a multi-state network tied to Hart Properties, with $15 million in fraudulent transfers. Vivian had used corrupt officials and fake environmental reports to seize rural land. The FBI was now involved, investigating wire fraud, racketeering, and conspiracy. I filed a lawsuit packed with digital forensics, victim statements, and financial audits. At the preliminary hearing, Vivian's lawyer looked like he wanted to bolt. The judge tore into her. "This is the most blatant property fraud I've seen." She was hit with $35,000 in penalties, a permanent injunction, and a federal probe into her company. The community meeting 3 weeks later was a reckoning. Vivian resigned, fumbling her badge with shaking hands. Residents shared stories of her threats, fake liens, invented complaints, even lies about neighbors turning on each other. The audit revealed she'd stolen $400,000 to fund her empire. The crowd demanded a new HOA, transparent and limited. No one volunteered to replace her. National news called it a landmark case, exposing how HOAs could mask criminal enterprises. Other victims came forward, describing identical schemes. Vivian's real estate license was revoked, her assets seized. She left town, a ghost of her former swagger. Now, my cabin's the haven I dreamed of. Deer graze in my yard, no SUVs in sight. My camera's now in Vivian detection mode, ping only for delivery trucks. Neighbors talk openly, no longer afraid of fake fines. I hung my deed on the wall, a badge of survival, and updated my sign. No HOA, no lies, just deed and peace. The fight showed me what I'm made of: stubborn, meticulous, and tougher than I thought. But it also left me wondering, how many others never had a chance to fight back? How many lost their homes to scams like this? If you've faced a bully like Vivian, how do you handle it? Could you spot a fraud before it's too late? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you're with me, and subscribe for more stories where the little guy fights back. Stay sharp out there, peace isn't free.